Hey guys, it is MG Kaler here, and I am doing another voiceover video. Welcome to my channel. I just wanted to do a quick, silly little video because the one that I have planned is going to take forever, and to be honest, I still have to edit that one, so that's probably not going to be up until my husband gets home from the field, when I actually have someone to help me with the children. So if you can see by the thumbnail, I revamped one of my old OCs, and this revamp has been, going on for a while now, but we're going to talk about it. Okay. So I don't know if this is happening to anyone else, but ever since I updated my computer, my Huion pen and tablet have been switching between the different tools and the eraser when I don't want it to. So if anybody is having that issue with their Huion and Fire Alpaca, can you please let me know how to fix it? So back in the day, I was really into anime, and I still am, but I really was into anime, and I had this whole weeboo stage that I'm sure everyone has gone through if they grew up at all during the early 2000s. I was really into DBZ and the works from Clamp. Clamp did Magic Knight's Rayearth. I think they did Tokyo Mew. I only know the Americanized version of that name. I never really read the manga. So I only know that Clamp did a few things that I was in love with. The main one was Magic Knight's Rayearth. So my OC, of course, was the schoolgirl. She went to a very prestigious school, and she got sucked into this quest. A very magical girl-esque thing. She had this magical charm, or I think I made it a magical sphere that could give her armor and weapons, and her weapons were stored in the magical sphere. And if she wanted one of her magical weapons or to don her armor, all she had to do was will it into existence and reach into this magical thing and pull it out, or tap it onto her chest, and all of a sudden the armor would appear in a glistening, sparkly mess of magic. She was a warrior princess, and she's like, I'm a tomboy, but I have to wear this school uniform that's a skirt. So I was very confused as a child because I liked wearing tomboyish clothes, but I was also really girly, and I was into the whole goth aesthetic. And when Avril Lavigne was super popular back in the day, I really liked the whole punky skater look. So yeah, I was a very confused child, but I was also very girly. I liked makeup, I liked dresses, but it had to be a certain style of dresses. So I was really into medieval gowns that I wanted to wear on a daily basis because that was my aesthetic. I wanted to be this badass, elfy warrior. So my character kind of reflected that. And being obsessed with Harry Potter and DBZ, my story reflected that. And it was cringy. I still have the original manuscript of that book, and oh my god, is it cringy. I am not going to put down myself for it because I was 12 years old and I had a story to tell, and this was my relief with all of the bad things that were happening, as well as my reading of fantasy books and reading manga. I'm never going to hate my past self for being a cringy little dork because I'm still a cringy dork. I just am cringy in other ways. So the whole design that I went from was the stereotypical anime wolf girl to something that I feel is more realistic. And if you hear my kids in the background, they just got up from their nap, so if it becomes too much of a problem, I'll cut the audio recording and we'll do this again later. But one of the main designs that I wanted to do was to make her more realistic. I wanted her to reflect the years that I put into this story and the research that I did for my werewolves. My werewolves, well, they're different, and I like them. My whole Lunar Cycles series is about their origin in a way that is explained by science. Where her story, it's still the same universe, she's still the same type of werewolf. Hers was explained by magic. And if you notice, what I'm doing here is I'm giving her hip dips. Hip dips are, you see some girls have that weird little curve on their legs. It's because their bones and muscles are connected a little differently. So they have a little dip on their hips. And a lot of people are like, well, you need to work out more because your hips are fat. It's like, no, there's a little dip there from skin and bone being in different places than normal people. It's not abnormal. A lot of people have hip dips. So I wanted to give her hip dips. I wanted her to have thick thighs because unlike her version in middle school, I wanted her to reflect that she was actually a warrior. She does archery. She wields heavy shields. She wears heavy armor. She has a freaking sword as long as her body. She has I really suck at German. I'm trying to learn German because of the research that I'm doing. A Zweihände sword, a two-handed sword, you know, the German style. It's super scary looking. She has one of those. So I wanted her body to reflect what she does. She is a warrior. She's bulky. Yeah, she's still super feminine, but you can tell that she fights, and that's what I wanted. I mean, I work out constantly, and my arms are still pretty thin, and, well, I had kids, so my stomach is kind of flabby with extra skin, but my thighs and my butt are pretty much the main thing that's defined after working out for over a year. So I'm not gonna not make her this super skinny and say she's a warrior. Like, a twig is not gonna be able to do that.
Oh, hi, Mommy.
Hi. Her original design was based off of a anime character. I don't remember who. It's been so long, but her hair was bright green, and so was her tail and everything. I don't know why I chose green as her hair color, but I did. So as I developed this character, as years have gone by, I have turned her green hair into a dark brown. She usually has the same style of bangs that I originally had the character with, which is the, like, side-swept angled bangs. And then eventually she had long hair. Eventually she had, I think I had her at one point with a pixie cut. Eventually I just settled on a braid. Like, her go-to hairstyle when she's not doing any formal events or anything is a braid. So I'm trying to figure out how to do these pants. I'm sure you've seen them at Ren fairs and stuff. The super baggy pants that are wrapped around the ankle. I call them Viking pants because that's the only time I actually see them, is when people are doing ska events as Vikings. So this is her training outfit. Because I made her a warrior, I decided that she spends a lot of time training, and that was a big part of her character development, was her father making her do these combat skills more as exercise and for mental toughness than it was to make her a warrior. She did fencing, or I think the proper term, if I were to use modern day terminology, is traditional European martial arts or historical European martial arts. Either of those two terms, I think that's what it goes by, but she does that as exercise, and it was never supposed to be, you are a warrior, you will defend our people, which I originally had her doing. She just does it for fun. It's her hobby. Among other things, it's her hobby. Sorry, I've got allergies and my nose is all stuffed up. The two little triangles that are underneath her eyes in the original picture, I did these like facial markings to tell you what type of werewolf she was, whether or not she was a high-ranking one or a low-ranking one. Eventually, I turned that into tribal paints that are used more for ceremonial purposes. And her actual rank as a werewolf is done more formally and not, markings on her face and whatnot. No tattoos whatsoever. She does still have a tattoo that she originally had when I designed her, but I changed the lore behind said tattoo. But overall, her entire design went from this teenage girl being, a magical girl and having all of these special powers that made her unique and special, and she saved the world with her friends. It moved from that to a teenage girl who loved her dad and was thrown into conflict because her father eventually goes missing, and as the princess, she has to take over the kingdom, and she's thrown into this reluctant hero archetype. So she becomes this fierce warrior out of necessity, and towards the end of the series, she puts up her weapons and says, I'm no longer warrior. I'm a queen now, and my people need me to be a queen, not a warrior. So she changes her mindset from young girl that only does fighting for fun and to help her with her fitness, who's devoted to her family and her people, to this hero that doesn't want to be a hero, defending her people, to coming full circle and saying, I don't need to fight, I'm a woman. My place is doing something else. Let the warriors be warriors and let me be me in the role that I was always meant to be. And for her, the role was always supposed to be this mediator, this healer, this very maternal type of queen. She cares about her people. She's not one to be quick to anger. She does have a temper, but she tries to be calm and use her words before she uses violence. Diplomacy is always her first answer. She ends up marrying one of her enemies because she knows that her kingdom needs her to get married as queen, but it also creates an alliance with her rival kingdom that's trying to hurt her. So it's a growth from originally her being a self-insert magical girl to somebody who actually has a character arc and character development. So why am I showing you this? I wanted to show you that as writers and as artists, our ideas can change over the years. I mean, clearly this character is a lot different than what she originally was back when I made her in middle school. I feel she is a better character. I'm still writing her story, but she's grown. And so have I. I've grown as a writer. I'm no longer, scratch that. I still watch anime. I still watch my nerdy stuff. But I'm not doing this as a self-insert-y type of thing. I'm doing this as this is my character and she has a story and I have a story and we're gonna make this story together. A lot of fan fictions have been turned into novels, at least with my friends. Our fan characters and our self-insert OCs eventually became books that we were so in love with and stories we were so in love with that, yes, it reflects heavily on our inspirations that we had growing up, but it's still unique and it's still us, and the story grew. It grew up. Writers grow up. You will always be able to embrace your inner child. You will always be able to... Oh, my phone going off. I'm getting yelled at to learn my German. Your growth happens in several different ways as a writer or even as an artist. You can make these characters that are really cringy and then look back at it a couple years later and say, hey, look at this. This is a great beginning of something really fantastic. Let's fix this. Oh, I've thought about this when I was younger, and there's a lot of said politics in this original rough draft. I don't believe that anymore. Let's change it. You are always changing and you are always growing. And between two characters, you can see that growth. And, well, here I'm going to write the similarities that I had for the characters, and you can see what I mean, but I started doing a lot of research on what we would call the Dark Ages. I did a lot of research with werewolves in folklore. I love Germanic stories of werewolves, as well as the stories that come out of the Romania region. Those stories are like the coolest. So most of my werewolves are based off of either the Romanian folklore or the German folklore. And my characters now reflect that. My main werewolf family is descended from this one, I think he's a Visigoth, one Visigoth warrior that got bit by a werewolf, and he lived to tell the tale, and his bloodline became this super powerful werewolf bloodline. It's more detailed than that. I'm just, you can hear my dogs in the background. But I don't know. I just wanted to let you guys know my thought process with designing characters, revamping characters. I still have a bunch of cringy OCs that I think I might do this with and talk a little bit about them and the stories that they were once a part of. So if you want to see me revamp my cringy OCs, let me know and we'll do it. And shameless self-insert section, because we're getting close to the end of the video, of I have a subscribe star, and if you want, you can go to the link on my main YouTube page as well as the link that's in the description, and you can sign up to be a subscriber there. I'm not saying you have to, but it'd be appreciated. Anyways, this is Furyoku revamped into Lucia. I'm very proud of how far I've come as a writer and as an artist, and I can't wait to show you the rest of my journey.